Hi everyone, welcome to our latest video with myself and Ricky. It's great to have you alongside us on a rather blustery day, it must be said. Hopefully the roof won't come in whilst we're doing this, Rick.
I won't call it blustery. This is even rougher up north, to be fair.
Yeah, it's hopefully we're alive by the end of this video and everyone's enjoyed it. But if not, we've had a good time doing it.
Yeah, been good knowing you.
Yeah. As always, quick plug at the beginning of all our videos, guys, because obviously the magazine is a big part of the business and what drives a lot of this content. So if you are enjoying these videos, please support the magazine. Follow the instructions on the bottom of the screen. Take you straight to the website. It's dead easy. $3.95 a month for what we feel is a pretty professional put together magazine delivered to your door. So if you've not subscribed and you're enjoying these videos, shame on you. So
I think it's important to stress on, obviously, the content we're producing here, is one thing. Obviously we work on really stepping it up another level for that in the magazine. So please get on board with it so we can keep making all this happen.
Yeah, nice.
There we go.
As always, just get into it, Rick. It's not pussyfoot around. We've touched on it a few times. Male versus female, or male koi in general.
Yep.
I know you're a big advocate of them, as I am myself. Yep. I see I think it's easy to say, oh, they're good value, but they're good. It's not just about value; it's about quality. Yeah. Price is one area that people might appeal to them a little bit more because obviously it doesn't hit them in the pocket quite so hard, and they feel they could get an equally or even superior fish for a significantly lower budget. But I wanted to go into the depths of it, not just skim over it and get into the real. Completely. I think male versus female. Although they would be judged equally in a show sense. What are the different aspects that
here they would?
Yeah. Sorry, clarify that.
Yeah, just saw your actress. Sorry.
But what are the pitfalls that people are falling into, and what? Yeah, let's look at the pros and cons.
I think before you go, so the price is the big place to start for me, because my whole thing is I want people to get the most amount of fish for their money, but also I'm quite happy to tell people what a dealer often wouldn't. So here's where this gets. This is when we're moving into the realm of higher quality fish. When we're moving down the ladder a bit, in all fairness, male, female, a lot of people generally don't care. This is more aimed at people who are progressing up in the hobby, moving up to their ranks, possibly moving towards the show circuit, wherever they're going with it, trying to build a collection of high-end koi. Now, I think what I see a lot is people get to that point where they're, up in their budget and they step into that realm where, let's say, they're spending, £1,000 to £2,000. Now, I accept and I know that's a lot of money. No matter what way you cut it, it's a lot of money to spend on a fish. However, the reality bit and what most dealers wouldn't say to their customers who are looking to spend that amount of money is, if you're, in that price bracket looking for potentially, I don't know, guaranteed female jumbo tosai or nisai, and you're wanting female of quality, you're out of your mind. You're absolutely out of your mind. You've seen it with me in Japan.
Yeah, I think
that price you're talking, can't buy one. Never mind ship it home, do all the rest of it.
I don't know whether that's a sad indictment or just the reality of the hobby, that perhaps it is a little bit far-fetched for your average hobbyist to sort of think that they can achieve something like that.
There's nothing wrong, but what I can guarantee you is I'm not saying you won't, you will find, there might be nice circumstances come about where, I don't know, a dealer's having a clear out or something like that, but if we started from ground zero, probably take the process where you've had at the shop when you've been with me, when you've been at Perfect, we've gone on a Japan trip, you've got a budget for somebody, so we're going the whole thing for them specifically, hunting around for a fish. Come to me with that budget, and the first thing I often say is we're not going to do it. Because all I know is if we are able to do it, which yes, probably can make it work, they're just going to be full of compromises.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of the time, unfortunately, that's not compromises the customer's willing to make. And the problem all this stems is, obviously, we've not had enough exposure of what's actually happening in Japan, where it's important to know what's happening because it affects all the market underneath it. Not enough exposure to seeing the value that fish fetch, the prices breeders ask for when they've got that really nice, female Nisai in a bowl. Because that's reality. Unless they have a sudden big change of heart and decide that they want to start giving away for half the price they've been selling them for all these years, that is the reality. And there's not many decent. If we flip this into yen, we're talking there's a lot of farms where you'll be hitting 300, 500,000, so like 2.5 up to maybe 3.5 grand, which is like they call it almost their standard price for an Nisai that's female, and that's not getting into the
high end.
Yeah. So where do you go from there when you start talking compromises? Because that's what it is. It's basically start working backwards to get where you need to get. So if you're sticking with the female thing, you've got to compromise on breeder and bloodline. I'm not saying you will go to the likes of Marseille and be overwhelmed with choice of female fish that will easily fit into that price bracket, but they're not going to be a Hoshikin, refined Kohaku with that superb potential that lineage has got. So that price thing, and this is just where I mentioned that 1,000 to 2,000 because this is where I seem to see it from the hobbyist perspective. It's sort of like, I'm spending a lot here, which yes you are, there's no denying that, and like I say, a dealer's not going to come forward and say you're out your mind, you're never going to make it work. They're going to try and make it work, and I think this is where the situation goes wrong, because they can probably lead people into false hope that yep we'll sort that out, and then an agent in Japan or myself will get a phone call going, right, customer's got this budget, what can we do? And I'll turn around more often than not go out and say probably not going to happen. And it's like everyone's all surprised, but that's the reality. The prices at the female end that stuff's fetching, your money does not go far. It's even got to the point now, guaranteed female jumbo toe side becoming less and less at a lot of places. Last year, Danichi sort of dropped most of it in their auctions, which I think sort of went a little bit unnoticed. They were selling female towards the last couple where they could say no more guaranteed stuff. So obviously it's a risk. It's a risk at that point as to what you're actually getting, and there's more risk in buying toe side. Toe side at that price range, it's not where I'd want to be putting all my eggs, to be honest. So it's about compromises, and right now that big compromise is looking male, because I keep saying it every time I'm generally out there. We're bowling fish up at farms, an equivalent quality male to female, normally about a third of the price. That's a huge difference. And quality should be the most important focus when you're looking to build a collection of quality koi. It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to play devil's advocate here,
yeah.
and I am going to throw some arguments your way. Just hear your response. So, males don't generate the shiroji that females do.
Didn't used to, and I'd say at the very top end of it, there's more males can do it. Yes, they can, but there's more females doing it. So finding the males at that level is a smaller pool to go at, but they are out there.
Would you say it's a fair statement to say that male or female, if the shiroji is good, it's good?
I'll never forget, I can't remember who, Nogami, when I did an interview with them guys back in the day, I asked them about shiroji and how you can manipulate it and condition it. He just said it's either good or it. So it was quite a sort of stark thing, and don't get me wrong, you can ruin good shiroji, or you can knock it out of condition, but likewise you can bring it back. So
do you think the sort of the rhetoric that males generate a bit of a fleshy appearance is accurate, or do you think it's more prevalent in males?
It's accurate, but getting better all the time.
Yeah, okay.
I think again, it's important to realise it's like females get put on a pedestal that every female fish has got perfect shiroji.
Yeah.
That's far, far, far from the case.
Yeah.
So it's just something that is more of a thing with male fish. But like I say, this is all part of the progression. Every year they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and eventually this is what will happen. The breeder will find that male fish with these superior qualities, hold it back for parents and reintroduce it. At some point we're going to hit an equilibrium where it all balances up.
Male fish don't get as big as females.
I didn't used to. I think this year's All Japan male grand champion, Donichi Toyota, I'm sure it was in 90 Boo division.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't the only one,
no.
So I think that we'll move on from that one.
Less said about that, fair enough.
Yeah.
Keeping males and females together is a big headache.
Yes and no. I think I've seen this from my experience of dealing with people. In a controlled pond, controlled, heated, very stable environment that the hobbyist is fully in control of, you take away a lot of the natural spawning triggers. So a good friend of mine, when he had his koi pond, straight from the bat he was into male, female, had a limited collection in his pond. It was covered over, so rain barely hit the surface, pergola covered, so it was quite hard. Full temperature control, everything, and for 6 or 7 years they didn't even have a sniff. So you've got to remember a lot of the spawning triggers come from natural environmental factors, or even in breeders' cases to trigger spawning, some pretty severe things are being done in temperature fluctuations, emulating rain, the fresh water, the whole thing. So when you've got a stable pond, nice environment going on, you do limit chances. If you've got that mixed collection and your pond's just left to nature, increased chances of all that kicking off. And generally it tends to be a thing where when you have had spawning happen, it will become an annual process then, unless you remove the fish that are probably the triggers for it all.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I've seen it done successfully in plenty of cases.
To develop fish to their fullest potential, it's not a good idea to mix sexes.
Again, I've not seen too much evidence of that. All I would say is that, as with any, developing to the fullest potential, so I've touched on already, there's a lot of segregation has to happen to get these fish to the absolute maximum from day one. So it's not just like it's male, female. It's not keeping a slower growing variety with something that races on. You don't put a pack of chagoi in with a pond full of kwaku, because there's going to be the group that misses out. Likewise, if you're introducing smaller fish into a pond full of bigger ones, one group somewhere is going to miss out, if not both, in that scenario. So it's not just a mixing male-female thing. All I see there is the potentials for males to miss out slightly. If sometimes you're going to have to force them a little bit more to get the size. That's all. So, but as with anything, if the males are in there on their own, you're going to get the absolute most out of all of them without a problem.
Why is why do you think that males are? Because I think they are becoming. We've featured them on the covers of the magazine, and that not one person could.
Well, no, you can't
deny the quality, but. I like using analogies, but do you think it's a little bit like the old man's club, like the FA or like the PGA, like golf associations, that this is the rhetoric, this is the narrative, and it doesn't change? Why does it change? Because no one challenges it, and that's how it's been. That's how it's always going to be. But obviously, so many things are changing. Like you said about the males, getting up to over 90, 95 boos sort of thing, and it's just.
Yeah, we see that with too much resistance against change, and that's been a thing in the hobby where new people's coming in, picked it up, get around these people, and that's it. You need female, you need female, you need female. I genuinely do think the day is coming where males are going to cross over and one's going to challenge some of them top honours at the All Japan outside the male division specifically, and that will be the leveller. And at that point, I do strongly believe that's when your prices will also hit a leveller as well.
So get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it's coming. Everything gets better every year.
Yeah.
The females are always going to be a bit ahead, but let's face it. We had Omasako Kajaku winning one of them. I can't remember which prize it won. Top Honours stealing it away from Go Sankey. That's another drum that gets banged. Only Go Sankey are ever going to win the Top Honours.
Yeah.
Omasako walks in with a Kajaku and absolutely snipes it unanimously.
Yeah, and it's not as if that lineage is decades old, is it? So
No.
what's it going to be like in 10, 20 years when he's had sort of a couple of decades?
If you look back through it all, what did you have? Well, Showa don't grow that big.
Yeah.
Momotaro went and fucking tipped that on its head. 101 centimetre, Grancho, whatever she was, Red Tiger. Unbelievable. Shiros don't grow very big.
Yeah.
Omasako, knock that one on the head. It's just not how I am, you know it. I don't dwell on what's been. And look at the opportunity that's out there. But they're on the rise. And I am seeing it. I think as we're seeing more new blood come into the hobby, that's what the hope for what we're doing here is. That we can obviously show them the facts and the reality and let them make their own mind up. But males all the way. We're going to see it here this year, you know, when I've done the selection across the Issa, Dainichi and all the other fish I've been raising, Teneguchi Sankis. We're going to have a male and a female pond this year for growing through to Sanzai, and I've got a feeling the male one is going to look the tastier of the bunch. Yeah.
I don't disagree with you, mate.
We've seen some candidates.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, there's a degree of compromise when you're looking at females versus males. But it seems like if you're... The classic scenario is chase female, compromise on quality.
Yeah. Honestly, I can't even...
There will be examples out there, like you say, circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, I had it a few years ago where I had quite an expensive fish that was sold several £1,000s, and long story short, it was a type of fish that I wouldn't have bought for stock.
Yeah.
And it was more of a relinquish, you know, get the cash back in.
Exactly.
I don't really want to sit on that fish because I didn't really feel like I had a customer client base for it at the time. So there will be the odd sort of scenario like that.
But likewise, then choice is limited.
Yeah.
So that's why I use the scenario of being given this request and going to Japan where choice is unlimited. So basically everything's there. It's just making it work and getting the right fish for that budget. And it's a struggle.
It would be, it would be out the realms of sort of madness to start keeping male-only ponds in the near future, I think.
I think so. I'd love to see the day where people's at the minute, you're generally walking in and the dealer knows what's coming, is it male? And the next thing they're expecting is yes, and bloke walks away. That's sale done. Where I want to see that day where, is it male? Fantastic, right, slip it in a bag. Or
ideally, not worry about sex.
Well, to be honest, you've got it there. Focus on quality. I think that's just to bring more light to it. The thing with the pricing of koi in Japan, you know, fish that are selling for tens of thousands of pounds each is an almost everyday occurrence at some farms. This isn't just every now and again one of these fish sells. Look at the Dainichi and Sakai auctions, the value that sort of Nisai run at per fish and the quantity of them that sell over the 2 and 3 day period is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. You know, the last Nisai Dainichi auction in autumn, I couldn't get near it. And these were I weren't looking at these thinking, that's exceptional. They were just the prices they were fetching, being all female Nisai. It was wild. I mean, we're talking fish that's probably going to hit the UK market at $4 and $5 grand a piece, being far from the best fish available.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like I say, I've been at those auctions as well when they've been there in person, and you've seen Nisai that are rolling at 70 and 80 grand a piece, and there's multiple ones selling that day. It's wild. But without having exposure to that, it's quite easy to think, that's just a joke. So when we're going and buying, obviously we're up against this mentality.
Yeah.
Whichever market's driving it, obviously Asia's doing a lot because of the amount of big buyers out there. The minute a breeder chucks a price out and someone just goes, yep, it's just a new precedent being set all the time. Breeders, honestly, some of them just live in these bubbles where it's like, stick a thing out, stick a price on, someone goes, yep. The first person says no, second one says yes, and they just go down the line like that. It's never a struggle for them.
No, they're just fine, sell it to someone else.
Yeah. So then for us walking in, then going, right, I need female, this eye, nice body, sort of 3-step pattern, a really nice keyword, good skin if we can, yep, fantastic, and if we can fit that into £1,500 after shipping, VAT and everything else, that'd be fantastic. It's just going to laugh us out the door.
Yeah,
and
that pretty well there, mate.
That unfortunately just is the reality, and unfortunately, like I say, I know most dealers won't want to say that to people, but that's where it's at. You know, the whole thing is competitive, and like I say, while more people are just setting the bar and keep paying the prices, breeders won't drop them. You know, and that's what the high-end market is, because you've got a lot of it all. It's sort of one-off fish we're dealing with as well. They're like one-off pieces of art, and they know this.
Yeah, they can't. It's not as if you fall in love with that fish. You go down the road, you're not going to see that fish again.
No, it's tough.
Yeah.
So this is why my thing is obviously focusing on quality first, without making the compromises. Yeah, take gender out of the equation. You think you hit nail on the head with that one? Just neutralise it. Be open-minded to either.
But you know as well as I do that there are guys that are quite long in the tooth in the industry that are huge advocates of males. Nah, don't even. They even again don't want to get names involved, but a very, very well-known guy literally said, I wouldn't even look at a male, just no matter what the fish was, knowing that it was male.
Two things at play there. That's fair play if they're happy with what they're doing and they've got the budget and the resources to go and buy the females at the level that they want. Fair play. I can't knock that.
I would say that would be debatable for this individual, but yeah.
But can't knock that. But don't enforce that on other people who haven't got those circumstances. You know, we're talking about for everybody here. Everybody, koi keepers starting out, up to whatever, getting the most fish for your money and what you can do with it. Just giving them the facts. Taking gender out, fantastic start. And then obviously being open-minded about the breeder. There's your two things. That really is the two big price taxes, if we look at it. And then obviously pattern. Them three really are when we get, because there's a lot of fish out there, isn't there, with good skin, good body. Let's face it, from an array of different breeders, it's when you then chuck pattern element on, adds a tax. Because let's face it, when you put pattern onto that, you're ticking all three boxes, then fish become fewer and fewer. And then you're talking, you add the breeder, certain bloodlines on tax that carries weight, and then you chuck it wanting female. That's where you're just stacking. So if you can take them out of the equation, just really focus on what is in front of you and learn to obviously understand and appreciate them qualities, you game on for building a collection well beyond, you know, what you would if you were chasing all them blocks.
Yeah.
And you know it. We've known it for years, haven't we?
Yeah, I think
it's just exposure to it.
It's just a drum that's going to have to be banged fairly regularly, because I think the rhetoric and the narrative in the industry is females are the only fish worth invested in.
Yeah.
And I think, and I've seen it time and time again with hobbyists, that the hobby just becomes a bit unattainable, to be honest with you, because it's just like, fucking hell. It, like you say, literally springs to mind, a guy had $2,000 budget. You should be picking up something that you're happy with at that sort of price, you know. And he was just like, oh, we've sort of, It just becomes impossible, doesn't it? Yeah, and it's almost, he ended up sort of going, well, I'll hedge my bets with a jumbo toss-eye instead of quite a high quality, and if it's female, happy days, if it's not. And I was like, but that's bizarre. The fish that you want is that one, it's just not female. Yeah, how many times have you seen that over and it's
the
just
years?
like, don't. I know it's easy to say it from our, you know, given the exposure that we've had in the industry and pretty much seen it all and sort of seen every scenario played out. It's like watching a car crash sometimes, and it's just like you can see what's going to happen. classic scenario, dug a new pond, chuck 50 fish in. Yeah, what's gonna you can't trick the system. You're gonna come unstuck.
Yeah.
But you've got people sort of buying fish and asking advice. It's like, well, it's swimming around in your pond. I can tell you what the better fish is. I can tell you what the fish is going to be the biggest fish.
Yeah,
I can tell you all the ins and outs of it. But do you like it?
What was your last? I know we keep mentioning the same farm. Your last experience with the shop in Japan, buying.
Oh, Danichi.
So obviously one pond, we get chucked these crazy price ranges you do, which the low end gets you excited. So you're picking fish up, and let's face it, body-wise, because the females had been slimmed down really, as well. You couldn't really pick it.
No.
So we were just picking on quality.
Yeah.
The bone structure, everything else, looking at what's there. The fish we liked the most, the best fish, got a cracking deal on, because they were all male. We put one. What female fish was it? Went in the bowl?
It's Tancho, and it was
fucking
astronomical. I might have.
How many? Did you 2 or 3 you bought?
3.
It was more than all 3.
Yeah, it was.
Hence,
I might have
there we
pictures. I'll see if I can dig them out. But there were three males, and it was a mixed pond of Dainichi, and I was dead keen to invest in some Dainichi fish. Looking back on it, maybe I was chasing a breeder, but the fish were good value for what they were.
They were exceptional.
They were cracking fish. It was the one. It was mixed pond. The one fish that I thought I'll have a look at that. It was worth, I think, that plus probably a third than the 3 male fish that were absolutely stonking on their own right.
Yeah, it was mental. I remember it and just thought, so we obviously Tancho went straight back.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because then you calculate the numbers and you're a fish that's thousands and thousands of pounds over here looking at it thinking, it's nowhere near worth that money. So it literally is just the reality, and I think as soon as it's faced up to, everyone's going to start building better collections of fish. Because you can do it. And I think the big thing here is as well, there's actually something quite unique to male fish that I really like, and it's the way when we get the big bodied ones, it's the way the body actually builds versus female fish. And this isn't a male female debate, which one's better. That is something you're not getting in females. So the body, when we're getting a big body, we can see them in equal mass. It's a different sort of mass because the females typically are carrying the weight really all over the body. Underneath, on top, sides, real girth all around. The males can carry so much power over the shoulders. Big head, and then this huge shoulders, and then a bit more of like a triangular, bit of a taper down into a strong peduncle. And that, to be honest, if you're looking at body styles, that's something I really like.
Well, it's quite Dainichi-esque, isn't it? Having that sort of powerful.
Yeah, well, not even just this. This is with male fish in general.
In terms of if you were looking at body styles or traits in different breeders. Some like the more elegant sort of length on the fish.
Yeah.
Some like the more imposing sort of. I almost liken it to sort of like a bloke walking down the road with his shoulders sort of popped out. They had that sort of aggressive, menacing kind of appearance.
That sort of body you can find in more breeders with male fish than you can in female fish, if you get me. So there's very few breeders producing females with that sort of body. Whereas openly, because it's a more male trait, you can find that at more farms if it's a body that suits your preference.
And a lot of people probably, well, maybe a lot of people don't know about it, but obviously because of the nature of the way the fish grow and the pigment receptors in the skin of the fish, the males tend to be actually the more vibrantly intense pigmented fish.
Well, they pop. Visually, they're absolutely stunning. And in the impatient world that we live in, they're getting to the point where everyone's going, wow, way before the female fish. They naturally do take longer to hit their peak, and that's across all the colour plates. A lot more male. It can be a nice way of spotting male Shiro in Tosai. Yeah. Because many of the males will develop the sumi a lot faster than the female fish. So plus really, because let's face it, it is an impatient world. Not everyone wants to be waiting 5, 6 or 7 years for that fish to hit their peak. So with the males, you're getting it all there a lot earlier. and
So,
it's lasting quality.
To sort of summarise this little bit then, if you had someone that was devoutly passionate about keeping females only, I know this is all hypothetical, it's not as if this scenario is ever going to happen, because you'd probably say I'm not going to waste my time convincing you, but to hobbyists that are perhaps on the fence, or they're a little bit clouded, because obviously we are going against the grain a little bit here. Yeah, how would you sort of summarise the male fish in the hobby?
It's your absolute best choice. This is absolute. I'm not beating around that. It is your best choice. I would go chasing after them as opposed to the females, and build a stunning collection of males and maximise them, because you will not be disappointed. Absolute given, and you'll build a far better collection than you will chasing the females. I honestly, I don't think it's a debate. That's how strongly I feel about it. I don't even think it's a debate. Or you just obviously drop the gender thing altogether. But I actually think your even strongest hand is go male only and build off of that, because you're going to produce one hell of a collection of fish for a lot less money. You know, it's the same. It's coming back to it, that and the breeder. You know, don't be too fixed on where it's coming from. It's only in the past few years I've gone with the likes of Danichi and all that. It's more for my own personal enjoyment and progression. But before that, you know what I'm like. In Japan, it'll be, try this. Danichi was the conversation at one point, weren't it? You wanted them for the shop.
Yeah.
I said, I think we'll do better around corner at Oshikin for your money. We tried it, and that was that. I think probably in hindsight you might agree now.
Yeah, well, let's not say that on camera, but yeah.
But,
well, I think we went to Nagami, didn't we?
Oh, that was
a couple of days later, and I'd
absolutely.
My pockets were slightly dry.
That's it.
At that point, and then jumbo tossai selection at Nagami, and
the floor what you got at Danichi, really.
Yeah, don't chase the name.
Yeah, well, I mean Nagami's not a thing you want by any stretch.
I had it in my head though, is what I meant. I'd already had made my mind up before I'd looked at the fish.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Look at the fish.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Just look at what's in front of you. If it works for you, buy it. Don't let any people sway. If it works for you, buy it.
Yeah.
But likewise, if you're on that other fence where you're going hunting for something specific, and you're in that realms where you've got that kind of budget we're speaking about,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Just be realistic. If you want a lot of choice, you're gonna have to be realistic. Otherwise, you sit and wait for a dealer having to clear out all the right circumstances to come where you can make what's typical on the open market impossible possible. So yeah, there we go. Like I say, it's not going to be the last people hear from us on that one.
No, and I think it's. You said it's not a debate, but I'm sure a lot of people will turn it into one.
Yeah. I'm going to love to see the debate when we film the male pond here.
Yes.
And get the mass verdict on male or female, because I just know most people's going to pick the male pond over the female one. Just now, 2 candidates I can think of going in there alone will probably still on the show. So, yeah, let's see.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's subject sort of close to both of our hearts, and something that we both feel that I think it's more people are missing out on parts of the hobby more than anything.
It's frustrating to see, isn't it?
It's not that we're trying to push male fish because we want to sell more of them. It's just because it's a massive part of the hobby that people aren't tuning into, and therefore missing out on, and maybe not getting fish that they would equally enjoy, if not more enjoy. Ultimately, that's the whole point behind the hobby. Yeah. Just because it's a male.
Well, I think, in fact, this one we can get pictures of. So just to end it, NND, what have been last year, the year before, I think, during the autumn harvest. So it's a farm I love buying fish at, as you know, with the history I've got there. Yeah. Just and the shower always get me. So I've been speaking with Fujo, and I'd had a Kindai shower introduced to me, a female one. One of these, what I'll term super Kindai, really stripped back in every sense, all about the sumi more than anything. been introduced to me by the gaffer there, and I was the minute I saw that video, bought it. It was a hefty investment. Still there today. What we're at now, Sanzai, I think 65 cm-ish, looking phenomenal. We can get that video or picture tapped in. The same year, I also bought a collection of 9 male Nisai. I think we do feature them in an article.
We've touched on it somewhere.
The male koi piece in one of issues, so we'll dig that up for reference. But these 9 male fish that I bought, got all of them, and then I also asked if I could rent a mud pond for the summer just to raise those fish in there. So weirdly, one Sankey I had turned out to be female, which was a bit of a shock. So I ended up with these 8 male Nisai shower in a mud pond all summer. But all that bit aside, at the initial time of purchase, I think most of the males would have generally had more appeal in a lot of ways, or most of the fish, the one female, the 8, would have been put on a level playing field to most people looking at them. And those 9 fish cost, I think, within give or take maybe 100, 200 quid, the same price as the one female. Just get your head around that. It's just that's where I say there's no.
Well, we'll let, if we could get the images up, then obviously we'll let people at home.
There's no debate. If I'm stood here today and I said to you, right guys, you can have these 9 or this one, I don't think I'll get many takers on the one. The bit, don't get me wrong, it's stunning, but let's just face it. You can have 9 top end fish here, or this one.
Yeah, I think that's what you call a no-brainer, isn't it?
It is really.
Yeah, well, people can make their minds up at home, but it's
And I didn't buy the female one because it was female. It just happened to be, and it was the style. It was the exact style of fish I'd really been itching to get my hands on from a lineage that I like. So if that had come to me and that was male, I'd have still snapped his arm off.
But equally, I don't know, we're sort of going over old ground here a little bit, but equally, if you have got the budget, fair play, fill your boots. Yeah. But it's more the people that perhaps don't have the budget or have to work incredibly hard to save that budget.
Yeah.
And then to not, it's like, round hole square peg scenario. Like you just can't, it can't all marry up.
Correct.
But it might do if you go down the male route.
It will. Absolutely will. It just opens up your choices. That's all it is. If you look at it, and that's what it's about, choices. When you've got big budgets and a lot of money, choices are vast. When you narrow down the funnel, choices do become less, unfortunately. I think that's just a fact of life. So, and it's no different with koi. So really open them choices up. For me, it's what it's all about, getting the most choice when you're buying that new fish and making it all as enjoyable as you can. So stop listening to people who are banging these things into your head. You need this breeder, you need that breeder. Yep, it's nice if you can get them, or you need female. It's just, forget it. Focus on the fish, and your choice pool will open up massively.
Yeah, sound advice, I think that, mate. So hopefully, even if it's made people sit back and have a think about this coming season and fish that they want potentially looking at investing in, then we've done our job there. So next subject, a bit of an odd one, but it's sort of something that bugged me for years, and I probably bugged you as well, is the future of the industry. We are a bit of a nation that live in the here and now.
Yep.
And obviously this might not bother your average hobbyist, and fair enough. Why would you be bothered about the state of the trade that it's just a hobby to you? But obviously if the trade is strong, then you've obviously got a little bit more enrichment for your hobby, I would argue.
Yeah, completely.
And I do feel like it is quite a humanistic hobby. It's not like you're just picking stuff off a shelf.
Yep.
People are quite engaged with their dealers, and they actually have a rapport and a relationship. If you get in trouble, who do you call?
Yep.
9 times out of 10.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10.
That was terrible.
Yeah. Cheers, Grandad. 9 times out of 10, you're calling your dealer.
Yes.
You know, so there, and so what I'm getting at is and I hope maybe we've got some people in the trade and the industry that might twig with them. Is where's the next generation of koi keepers? And what are we doing as an industry to help?
No, I'm with you now. Yeah, we've been speaking about this quite a lot.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I'm not saying I've got the answers, but
no, I think it's something that needs work. Again, I'm going to fling this back to where I draw most of my thought, Japan.
Yeah,
and there's a serious amount. There's just alone in Nagaoka, where obviously the Niigata region, Nagaoka's the city that falls within Niigata, where a lot of the breeders are situated. Nagaoka, Ojiya is your main two places in that area. They've got the Nagaoka Koi Promotion Association set up now, which they're just this one task of promoting koi within Japan, globally, whatever it is, and that's getting it in. You know, I see their interaction there with school kids visiting koi farms and all the rest of it like that. It's exposure to it. Because let's face it, it is a super rewarding. Fish keeping in general across the board, it's super rewarding. But koi are fascinating. Kids love them. Kids really generally do love them. I look at my own kids. You know, I always said I'd never force this upon them. If it's something they turn, obviously they're around it, but so quickly they got into it, and I mean, Artie's obsessed already.
Yeah, I know.
And it's not even like I've literally just left him to it. He's just picked it up the same way that I did. I was around it. Again, I never got it forced into me. I'm just around it, and I made that decision. I love this. This is me. So I think it comes down to that exposure again. But let's face it, who is it? Who does that responsibility sit with? And for me personally, I think it's a thing that we'll end up taking on as a part of the Koi Talk venture.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's a bit of a, I kind of know the answer before I asked it sort of thing, but I just think it's a bit sad that it's taken for everything to collapse in the trade. You know, we've had no magazine for 6-7 years.
Yeah.
We've had a governing, I don't know if you could call them governing body, that isn't engaging with the younger.
Governing body. Sorry, I'll have to draw it on it.
BKKS.
Oh right.
In terms of
wow.
From
yeah.
Where are we encouraging younger people?
I feel my heart rate gone up all of a sudden.
Well,
I'm just wondering whether to go for it on that one or not, to be honest.
Up to you, mate. I'm not pointing the finger at them. I'm just saying these are the people that are involved in the hobby. And I had at the last show that I was at, I had a really bizarre guy come up to me and said, "Yeah, I love the magazine, blah blah blah. Thanks very much. Can I get your signature?" I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." That was a granddad joke, by the way.
I weren't really listening.
Yeah, great. I'm glad we're having this interview
Sorry,
on camera.
Phone distracted me. I thought it were turned off.
And he said, "Oh, just a quick one. Can I get your advice or get your opinion on something?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "My little lad, he's 14, loves coming to the koi shows. He's got his own little pond, and he wanted to bring his fish here." And I said, "Oh, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem." I don't quote me on this because I can't remember the exact details, but it was something along the lines of he can't enter the fish separately because his dad's paid for them, or something like that. And I was thinking, if this is a 14-year-old kid who wants to get involved, and will probably at the age of 14, if he's obsessed with it, there's a good chance. The snow it will start.
I'm sat here on a million. The institution of the BKKS is a fucking joke, and I really don't care what comes back from that, because let's face it, it does absolutely nothing for the hobby. I cannot think of anything right now, unless someone wants to educate me about what it's been doing in the last decade to help and support the hobby, other than put a show on, which was on. Sometimes it was off. It's ridiculous. absolutely ridiculous, and it's there. I don't know. There's never any information about how many members, what you actually get for your membership. It's like some little old boys club that keeps a few people happy and does nothing for everybody else. And that's for me where it's at. Not to be respected in the slightest. Any involvement I've ever tried to have in it in the past through the shows, you just met with this divide. Even my very first experience of it, I'll have still been a teenager at school. Was at the National Koi Show one year when the BKKS was a bigger thing, admittedly, and there was an arrogance with it, that it was them and then the industry. You get me? BKKS, the dealers. And for me, that should never be the case. That should be two organisations working together, because without the work and the investment of the dealers, there is no industry. You know, so, and that should have always been, and it's never been. It's been this thing that they're bigger, higher, better than everybody else. But where is it all now? It's nowhere.
Yes, well,
and I know you're
yeah.
wanting to stay nice and political on that one.
Well, no, I don't have as much experience with them, but purely from a guy that sort of sat on the outside for, I guess when I say governing body, that's probably the wrong term. I more meant like the perceived.
But let's the perception.
The British Koi Keepers Society, so it's representing the Koi Keepers Society in
Japan's
the UK.
got the Shinkokai. They're a massive part of the hobby.
And then obviously, I couldn't tell you what you get for it, how you go about it. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I could probably go and find that out if I wanted to, trawl through the internet. But I just think as an industry, it should be readily available. You know what I mean? It should you should go to, you go to a garden centre, and most of them have like the horticultural societies and like. I don't know, leaflets, information to keep people engaged, keep people alive in the hobby, active, moving into the next realms of things, and it's just the same. Same
thing, same people. Any attempt to modernise it gets shot down and crowded out by the people in power. It's absolutely knackered. It's dead. It just needs to disappear and something new come up. With the right people involved. Too much politics and bullshit with it all, and all committees and all this it's a joke. Getting stuff done. We've got a magazine out, we've got a YouTube channel set up, we're sharing it, we're bringing all the right people in, the knowledge, the advice. All this been done in, what we're up to, 10, 11 months?
Yeah.
Already. We'll see where it goes with the plans that we've got for $3.95 a month. You know, we're talking from the magazine. I don't know what the BKKS is charging, but when you get diddly squat for it, it's expensive. So I can't. You've mentioned it. I just couldn't leave it, because that's, for me, the industry does need it. You're right, and we are going to take it on. That's the whole reason for me. I've got enough going on with Koi wholesale and everything else. But this is one of the things I'm most passionate about. It's driving the industry, getting new blood into it, getting the kids into it, coming through, because that's the people for years to come that are going to keep it ticking over.
Yeah.
The new level, let's face it, most Koi dealers come from being hobbyists. So we need that new generation of hobbyists as well, converting into dealers. Younger dealers bringing a fresh thing on things, getting more creative with the businesses and things like that. Absolutely vital to have new blood coming in.
Well, it's changed, isn't it? The hobby, the information that he's generated and put through to people, people's minds. It's changed a lot in the last 20 years alone. If you just look at filtration.
Yep.
For a start, it's
Yeah. Like
there's more than one way to skin a cat, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But there's probably a better way of doing it. So
we've already done nothing, as you know, but reinvest in everything we've done with this so far, in equipment for making this, the new website and stuff that we're working on to bring more information and build things up again there. all the different bits of projects and everything we're looking at, we know it's going to be years of just reinvestment in this. Where's the funds from the national koi? Where's all that being reinvested every year? You're just all these questions. It's just politics, bullshit, not worth it at all. It's just a dead institution in my opinion. So enough on that. I know that's not people's come for, but you're right. Someone's got to take the task on of bringing this industry and making it a bit livelier. It's something that I'm well up for that challenge, and I know you are.
Yeah,
and anybody else who wants to get along with us.
I was going to say it would be nice if it could happen as a collective and as an inclusive group, committee, whatever you want. Probably committee is the wrong word, but as a force to promote the industry in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
And young kids, how, if you are a child or not a child, teenager, whatever, you're not going to own your own gaff. You're not going to be earning any money. So how do you get? There is only one way you can get involved in it.
Go on.
Your parents.
Oh yeah, parents. That's it. Yeah, because you're never just going to end up on a koi show without it. And this is why we're keen to make it as well seem more accessible without getting all these stigmas, the male female thing that you've got to have a certain amount of money for koi keeping. It was actually, you don't even know this show, I was having a discussion with Steve the other day because I've got my fish tank set up in my office again, and I'm going to use that for keeping koi.
Oh, you did tell me about that, yeah.
Did I? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So that's something, and we're actually going to document that whole process because it's not been running long now, but I'm going to just follow that journey of me keeping koi in that aquarium and see where we get. Because I know it's more than possible. That's something else that's been bad for you. You can't keep koi in a fish tank. Oh, I'm going to pretty much show you that you can. Because it's just potentially opened the doors up more and more. It's a different, obviously,
I think people get a bit sort of moral and ethical about that one, don't they? But obviously, if you've got the ability to move the fish on into a larger environment, then...
Not only that, we know there's some koi that don't want to grow.
Yeah, there is that,
There's constantly batches up here.
3-4-year-old fish that are like 15 centimetres. Yeah.
All along the way.
Yeah.
Not my phone again, I really thought it would turned off. I'm gonna sort of just show with that one because again, I just think then it potentially opens up with gardens getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
It's just another angle where koi keeping can be enjoyed.
I mean, I mentioned to couple of dealers, and I don't know whether it's a British thing, it might be the world over, I don't know, I just don't know. I don't know whether I'm a bit different in the head and I'm sort of a bit too trustworthy, but I was like, hey, what about an idea that we sort of subsidise things for younger people so that they can get into it, and we could get certain manufacturers on board, and they would, if you have a card for under 16s, for example. Obviously, I know they can't buy fish because of the legal ramifications, but they've got to buy food, they've got to buy treatments, they've got to buy books, you name it. There's loads of things to purchase, or they could buy fish with their parents with this. I don't know. I was thinking something along those lines, and obviously the dealers could then be reimbursed by the manager. I don't. I'm not thought it all out, but literally, I was just throwing it out there to a dealer. First thing that came to mind, we'll just get people making up that they've got kids.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, some things.
I know.
If you're that sad that you want to pretend.
I think the big one for me, I've already obviously sounded it out at my lad's school, but if there is anybody watching this in the educational industries, teachers, etc., would like you to probably reach out, because I think that's sort of one of the grassroots. If there's something that can be done in schools to give people an introduction to what they are, I think that's going to be the best thing to get the kids talking to it with their parents, and then if we can highlight it's possible to take that first step with an aquarium and a few koi and build on from there. It's all them stepping stones to get people into it easier and get the passion there. Because when the passion's there, let's face it, that's what drives it for all of us. But if you've never even been introduced to it, you've got no hope.
Yeah, it's opening that door, isn't it?
Completely.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I've got all the answers. Certainly, it can't just be a one-man band thing.
But we're up for giving it a shot, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and we'll sort of yeah, it's something that we're both sort of passionate about, and
It's at the point where it's essential.
yeah,
Let's
I think
face
that
it.
he's
Every industry needs new blood. I mean, what had happened in the sporting world
yeah,
if football teams didn't have youth coming through? It'd be, I can't even imagine what state that'd be in right now. So it's essential for everything, and yeah, a big part of it. So likewise, if anybody watching's got any great ideas, we're up for hearing anything. You know, drop it in the comments section, and let's see where we get.
Last subject that we're going to come on to, Rick, is something that you're going to love talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I hear all the time. Flukes.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Oh wow!
Why are they? Well,
to be fair, this is one
side
of them.
behind this, obviously.
Yeah.
Which would probably. There's a science side to all elements of koi keeping.
Yeah.
You can't deny that. But in your opinion, your experience, obviously, probably sat on one of the biggest collections of fish in the UK, if not Europe, by some distance. The management of flukes, and why are they becoming so prevalent? Or have they always been prevalent? It's just we're getting better at finding them.
Yeah, that's always the case. I think with everything, you look at sort of one I always mental illness with us with humans.
Yeah.
You know, that's been a problem for forever.
Yeah.
It's just that we're getting smarter at identifying it, picking it up, putting labels on stuff, all the rest of it. So I agree with what you're saying there. I think that's part of the case, but the flukes are getting more resilient, no doubt about it. But to be honest, I am going to gracefully try and cop out of this a little bit, because I don't like going into areas where I'm not got all the answers. I'm not a scientist. I think there's people out there. We're trying to get answers off at the minute for content for people, because we know it's a hot topic. But I have got some thoughts on where sort of this is going. You know, we've got two sides of it. Do we really know what's going on with a lot of medications? You know, and I do sort of chuck that back to manufacturers a little bit. Is the strength of them there, you know, as it needs to be? I know, you know, people are actually making new solutions, bringing new chemicals to market, all the rest of it. But I think the biggest issue here is if we're talking about resilience, because it is, you know, from some professionals in that space, a word that's being used.
Yes.
Yeah, where's that coming from? Because obviously they're getting resistant to what we're using. And I think with that, you know, if the treatments were, you know, having that level of impact and clearing these things out properly, that resistance would take a lot longer to build. In the past few years especially, it seems to have really took a big leap. And I can't help but think, when I'm looking at what's going off, possibly under-medicating is a big part of this. And this is a tricky one to get into, because obviously there's potentially, you know, bigger problems coming from over-medicating.
Yeah, sure.
So it's a fine line for everybody. It's a fine line for manufacturers with strengths and dosage rates, and it's a fine line for the people dosing up as well. But if we look at, I think we've got preparation for treatment and potentially under-treating, because not a lot of people know the gallonage accurately enough, as in calculated from a water meter to an exact point. So we're working with calculations that there's going to be a degree of
inaccuracy.
In that. So, you know, if the treatment isn't having the full strength every time, it's maybe doing 95%. It's that 5% that I think's possibly creating part of this problem, because it's retreating to get it truly cleared. And yeah, treatment preparation, I don't think that's really ever been spoken about. But again, let's go back to Japan. I mean, some of the chemical cocktails they use scares the life out of me, and the strengths they use stuff at because of how their ponds are set. You know, I'm talking PP used at dosages where the fish are rocking. You know, they're sort of swaying around in the water. Like, I've seen it with big 80+ centimetre fish just
Heart
sort of swimming
moment,
like, holy shit, they're going to go. And then, you know, a few minutes later, they've neutralised it, drained the old pond off, filled it back up. Job done. Bring
Almost
the fish
like
around.
a bath.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean that's hitting things hard. That's not leaving a lot left to linger about. Same with all medications, how they use them. You know, you're looking at dosage rates and stuff. You're just thinking, Jesus. But they can get out of situations quickly in the way the ponds are set up. Like I say, they've got water on tap like that, so drain off, fill back up if they fuck things up that much. It's not too bad. Our systems aren't built like that in Europe in general. You know, to drain a pond off, I don't think most people would actually be able to just do that like that.
No, I mean, thinking about it, most people's bottom drains go above.
Yeah.
So even if you want, you literally have to chuck pump in.
You need a separate external pump to pump it out, and then filling it back up with hose. Wow, that's, again, you got a load of other problems coming there as well. So, I think, you know, we look at how they're using it, but the preparation they go to before a treatment is like I don't see over here enough either. We're talking, you know, big filter changes, getting all organics out of the system, doing everything they can to maximise the potential of the medication, because organics play a huge part in burning, just taking the energy away from the chemical.
I mean, that is one organic load. So your levels of detritus, levels of fish, levels of algae, general organic litter that you get in the pond,
so much
will have an impact on the dosage. But that's a very difficult one, near impossible to calculate.
It is, but obviously there's little things you can do. Obviously knowing your correct pond volume before a treatment, give everything a good decent water change in your pond, get the filters cleaned, get the treatment in after you've done all that, so it's going to have its highest impact on the fish, rather than use all its energy on the water, or having, you know, the organics just consume it. It's vitally important. So I do think this is a lot of what's to blame, because I don't walk around Japan and hear, you know, I love 2 years anyway, but typically in the past, that's fluke problems being relevant in high stress environments. Stuff like that's always more common. You know, when we look at my side of the fence, dealer's side of the fence, the constant netting up, catching, moving stuff around, these stress elements are always going to just keep pushing, and you know they crop up. We're having to deal with it constantly. But in a hobbyist pond where that's happening a lot, it shouldn't be really if there's good stability in the system. Yeah,
so I totally agree with you and hear what you're saying. But a lot of the guys that have got sort of advanced systems, drum filters, you know, they don't really have detritus sat in their systems, are still struggling with flukes. It's literally the go-to
then we
word.
Look, a lot of them ponds these days are potentially running showers, which can harbour a bit.
Yeah,
there's loads of different bits to it. But like I say, then you've got dosing, getting the right meds. There's just a lot of it is like it's beyond me. There's people out there a lot smarter who's got the answers, but for me, just looking, my analysis is on them too, possibly under treating, bad preparation for treatment. PP is your prime example. You know, if you want to get an idea of your organic loading in your system, do a dose of PP, standard dose, and see how long it takes to go from purple to brown. Because I guarantee in a lot of cases it's probably not very long. And if it's not, you know you've got a heavy organic loading in your system. So, it's complex. It's complex. I'm hoping someone we're talking to at the minute is going to give us some decent answers on what's really going on soon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a bit more on the manufacturing, the industry side of things, and speaking to the guys that have got all the brains and sort of come up with these ideas. Obviously, in the UK, from a veterinary medical perspective, obviously things are changing. They have changed. And it would seem that the argument of everything's getting diluted is probably valid to a degree. Obviously, they're worried about protecting the integrity of animal keeping and welfare of animals. So I kind of get that. But obviously, the other thing that this said gentleman was he literally didn't want to put his name to it, because he was like, I'll just get hounded. He was like, the way the modern koi keeper keeps koi, so it's far too clinical.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Said that you're just not creating an ecosystem.
Mm.
He said, and when you can't create an ecosystem, you get imbalances. And you're chasing clarity, water quality. I know you said some bits with what's his face?
Question and answer last night.
Sorry. And the pitfalls of chasing all these so-called positive things can ironically have a negative impact.
Yeah, completely.
And what you feed the fish as well. It was like you are what you eat kind of scenario. And I look at a couple of customers. I mean, don't get me wrong. On paper, their setups are honestly, mate, they're absolutely mint. Don't really introduce a lot of new fish. When they do, you know, they screen them, they put them in a separate system, make sure they're clean before they go in. But there's something that's triggered when they go into this environment, whether it be stress orientated or I don't know. The other thing that he said massively was the addition of water, constant addition of water.
Well, that's interfering with that ecosystem that can build, isn't it? And that is literally, again, if you want to, I covered that in my coil sale question and answer last night. It's trickle in, trickle out.
If you haven't seen it, it was a great little plug there for you, Rick, with Alan.
It's a scary one.
Yeah, it was a superb piece. And
but they're not, for me, I think another thing just to chuck in there as well is looking at where we're at regards to summer water temperatures, ambient ones. Ponds are living in shitty temperature bands. They really are, where it's more in favour of the parasites than the fish, to be honest with you. So, you know, when you sort of factor that in, I have no issue with my growing ponds, you know, in the height of, or even now, you know, the ones that are all fully cooked up in temperature, feeding heavily, fish in great condition, all the rest of it. It's never even a second thought. They're untouched, they're not being netted all the time. I can half expect, obviously, when we've been through a selection, which is quite a stressful process, something gets thrown up and it's just quite normal, it's a part of fish keeping, but the general day to day, it's not a lot. But the ponds that are ambient at the minute, you're always having to work harder on them because, immune systems in no man's land. And obviously from our side, there's generally always a lot of movements. Catching, getting stuff out, offering it for sale, packing it, holding it. It's not an easy process.
No.
Hence why, you know, if you've got a settled pond at home and you're having all these problems, you've got to look at a bigger picture, I think, of what you're actually doing.
I think I agree with you on that. I mean, it's almost as if there's a piece by one of the guys in next issue about classic scenario of you spend thousands on your pond to make it the best in the business, and then your neighbour who's just got a liner in the garden with a hole, filter, he absolutely has no problems whatsoever.
No.
And this guy was basically saying to me, because an ecosystem is what we're trying to mimic in a pond. And if you keep interjecting and changing, he's like, he also said, the same guy said to me, don't treat your pond for 2 years with blanket weed treatment, and the water will generate an enzyme to inhibit it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What did I do? Didn't treat my pond for 2 years. Never got blanket weed. He was like, nature will always find a way.
Yeah.
And it is true. It just goes back to, again,
I think you probably agree. That probably mimics how fish are kept here, really. Minimal interference. You know, certainly from that freshwater aspect and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's just something that doesn't sit right with me at the moment. I mean, and again, I don't profess to know the ins and outs of the science of tap water, but I don't.
There's just
too
much shit in it that we don't know what's going on with it. And these are things that live. If our air was mucked around with, we very quickly know if we're in a scenario where there's a bit too much smoke in the atmosphere or something like that. We feel it, we cough, it feels a bit heavy on your chest. God, imagine how finely tuned your fish are in that environment.
That's a great way to put it, actually. I've been struggling to sort of try and word it, but
and that's what every time we are changing it, changing that environment.
Because a lot of people say to me, like, what's your number one tip for keeping stability?
Yeah.
It's right up there.
Yeah.
Like, don't let the environment fluctuate, whether it be water quality, ingoing water, temperature, diet, just stability.
Completely. But yeah, that water one, I can't wait till we've finally obviously got some content out at Mag about it, because yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a game changer.
Yeah.
I do. I blame it for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, this is what this individual was saying. He was like, it's like the wolf in sheep's clothing. He's like, you know, everyone thinks that they're sort of doing, and you know, I bought into it a few years ago until I thought, hang about, something's not right, you know, and I think I spoke to you. I was like, Rick, Benny's just not right on these fish.
Yeah, it's the first thing I said, isn't it?
It's just not right on these fish. Yeah, you know, and sure enough,
you'd always draw a comparison between where you was at and obviously having seen like skin luster up here.
Yeah.
With
Huge.
what I'd done
Difference is unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't put it out. I don't piss around with it too much.
Yeah.
You know, certain things you've got to take it, but you know, I do believe we wear filters, and this is, I said this in getting my question and answer, I believe it's one of the biggest game changers was the introduction of like the Nexus filter for creating that ecosystem. Even now, although there's other medias come out that are being used in fluid beds, I still stick with K1 coldness, because that's, having seen that environment, how fish live in that environment with ponds that are run by that and not mucked around with too much, I've not seen koi kept better. And that's visually, I've seen that with all the experience that I've got, kept in that environment. I've seen it multiple places going, that's it. And I think there's two parts to it. One being the way that system operates. You know, it's really easy. Just the general maintenance regime, the mechanical filtration is really effective. It isolates mechanical and biological waste. There's no waste gets sat in the biological chamber, which is hugely important. If you look back to multi-bays, I've had them up here. They worked for a long time, but I do believe one of the drawbacks was the amount of waste that would potentially get sat in them between maintenance intervals, because it was a bigger job to do it.
Yeah.
You know, let's look at the easy, quick tap, 10 minutes, we've purged it off, the bottom drains had a purge. It just promotes a different, more efficient way of koi keeping. But I believe it's what the fluid bed created. Whatever goes on inside that piece of K1 in that protected area, which is what, you know, like Jasper at EA, we've always spoke to him about what's living in that biofilm and going off in that protected area, what that media did in that environment, game changer. And that's why every, you know, all the main ponds where the fish thrive are all K1 filtered.
And the stocking densities.
And I won't change it, despite, you know, claims of other medias being more efficient, all the rest of it, because for me it's become one of my core foundations of koi keeping, that's the system to have, the way to go, because it produces those results. And it's more efficient at recycling the water. I think that's what I'm getting at. Without the interference of fresh water, it keeps incredibly well, and that's because of the bacterial colonies that are developing. It's not just about breaking down nitrite and ammonia, it's the denitrifying effect of bringing down nitrate a little bit. It's the oxygenation of the water and keeping the you know, that on the right side of things. And then more down to the rotifers that they obviously brought when they introduced biochip, and I believe are a part of the K1 ecosystem as well. You know, these things just consuming particles out your water at rates, you know, that drum filters can't even keep up with. So yeah, a lot to be said about the biological action versus probably where it's sort of gone now, where it's more, you know, mechanical based. I do really believe, you know, even a drum filter cannot perform and produce that perfect water on its own. It still needs that biological side to pick up where it fails. So I don't think enough importance is placed on that. But that really is one of my core things now. You ask me any time, even to be honest, sort of the K1 that's being introduced in bead filters, you'll not get me excited, even though it's K1 in that bead filter. I've been against the sort of the beast, that enclosed system. It's not the fluidized bed. The whole action of it. Yeah, it's not the one for me. So,
well, we'll try and I did wonder where we'll get with this sort of topic.
Mm.
And I knew we'd go off on tangents because there are a lot of variables involved with it. But we are sort of actively in discussions with a guy from Holland that is on another level. So yeah, hopefully in the not too distant future we can delve into the
few interesting subjects.
Yeah, into the real depths of things and see what he's got to offer. See if we can crack it for hobbyists out there. But I think there is, regardless of the science side of things, there is an underlying truth that it's maybe more circumstantial a lot of the time.
I think so.
But yeah,
I think so. Happy days.
So we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Obviously, again, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've gained something out of this. And
we'll be back again soon.
Indeed, mate. And yeah, as always, please support the magazine. And yeah, look forward to doing the next video in the next couple of weeks.
Nice one.
Cheers, guys.